Good morning, everyone. They've crossed a line internally, a specific, significant, no going back line. And what's on the other side of that line is you, decided on, chosen, worth showing up for, literally, physically, at whatever cost, in a way they haven't been willing to do until now. Something shifted. And shifts like this don't happen from comfort. Let's talk about what it actually takes, psychologically, emotionally, in terms of sheer internal effort for someone to reach the place of ready to fight. Because it doesn't happen casually. It doesn't happen from a place of mild interest or convenient feeling. Uh, Ready to fight means they've already lost something internally, already sat with the version of reality where you're not in it, and found that version unbearable, not uncomfortable, um, not inconvenient, um, unbearable. The specific unbearable of someone who made a mistake or let something slip or got scared and ran and is now living inside the consequence of that every day without relief. And at some point, the unbearable becomes louder than the fear, louder than the pride, louder than whatever it was that kept them from doing this sooner. And when that happens, when the cost of not acting finally exceeds the cost of acting, people move, sometimes dramatically. Sometimes they show up. Now, the showing up piece, um, because that's the part of this that requires the most honest conversation, um, and the most careful thinking on your end. Because someone showing up physically at your door, in your space, in the geography of your actual life, rather than the digital edges of it, is a significant gesture. And significant gestures require significant discernment, um, not skepticism, discernment, because those are different things. Uh, Skepticism closes before looking. Discernment looks carefully, clearly, without the filter of either hope or fear, and then decides, um, so let's look carefully, clearly, at what it means when someone decides that words aren't enough anymore, that texts and calls and indirect signals have been exhausted, and the only remaining move is presence. Physical, undeniable, right there at the door. Uh, it means they've run out of ways to reach you that don't require vulnerability. Every other channel, every message, every like, every mutual friend, every indirect signal allows for deniability, uh, allows them to pull back if it doesn't land the way they hoped, allows the retreat. Showing up doesn't allow the retreat. Uh, Showing up is I am here physically in front of you with nothing to hide behind. Um, no screen between us, no delay between what I say and how you respond. No way to craft the perfect version of this. Just me at your door, hoping you open it. Uh, that's a lot to risk. And people only risk that much, only make themselves that exposed when the alternative is worse than the exposure. Um, when the thought of not trying, of letting this end without doing everything possible, is more unbearable than the possibility of standing at a door that doesn't open. This reflection invites you to consider if they showed up today, right now, at your door, what would you feel first, uh, before the thinking, before the processing, before the history and the reasons and the complicated narrative of everything that happened between you? The very first thing in the body, before the mind gets involved, uh, because that first thing, whatever it is probably the most honest information you have about where you actually stand, not where you think you should stand, um, where you are. Now let's talk about fighting for love, because that phrase, ready to fight, um, needs unpacking before it becomes a story you live inside without fully understanding. Fighting for love doesn't look like the movies. It doesn't look like grand speeches in the rain. Um, it doesn't look like one perfect moment of saying the right thing and having everything resolve. That's the cinematic version. The real version, the one that actually means something, looks like consistency after the grand gesture, like showing up not just once but repeatedly, like doing the unglamorous work of being different, actually different, behaviorally different, in the ordinary moments different, um, from whatever version of themselves contributed to this situation. The showing up at the door, that's the beginning of fighting, not the whole fight, um, just the declaration that they intend to fight. Um, and declarations, as meaningful as they are not the same as the actual fight. The actual fight happens after the door, um, in the days and weeks that follow, in whether the behavior matches the arrival. So when they show up, let the gesture be the gesture. Um, Receive it as significant, um, because it is. And simultaneously, don't let the significance of the gesture replace the need for evidence of what comes after it. Um, both things. Um, Simultaneously, moved by the gesture and watching the follow through. That's not cold, that's intelligent. Um, Now, your side of this. Because this reading isn't only about what they're doing, It's about what you're doing, what you're carrying, what you haven't said, what you've been protecting yourself from feeling. Um, Possibly because feeling it fully would require making a decision you're not sure you're ready for. Do you want them to fight for this? Um, Honestly, not is it flattering that they would. Not does the idea of being fought for feel good in the abstract. Um, do you want this specific person with this specific history, this specific complexity, everything you know about them, to fight for this specific connection? Um, because if yes, then the work is opening. Um, Not all the way immediately, but enough to let the fight actually reach you. Um, Enough to not make them fight a door that was never going to open regardless. Because that, um, making someone fight for something you've already privately decided against, is its own kind of cruelty, um, even when it's not intentional. Even when it comes from confusion rather than calculation. If the answer is yes, let them in. Not naively, um, with conditions, with clarity about what you need to see, with honest communication about where you've been and what would need to be different. But let them in. Because fighting for something that never gets to arrive is just pain with good intentions. Um, and if the answer is no, that's allowed, fully allowed. Um, Not every grand gesture deserves an open door. Um, Not every person who finally finds the courage to fight finds it at the right time or as the right version of themselves or with the right changed behavior to back it up. Sometimes the answer is, I see what you're doing. I appreciate that you're doing it. Um, and no. That no, said clearly, kindly, without cruelty, uh, is a complete sentence. And it doesn't require justification beyond the fact that it's your truth. This reflection invites you to consider what would need to be said or shown for you to believe this fight is real, uh, not what would feel good to hear, what would actually constitute evidence in your specific situation, given your specific history with this person, that this isn't just the panic of potential loss dressed up as love, um, because those two things, the panic of losing and the actual decision to love differently, can look identical in the moment. And only time and behavior uh, reveals which one is actually present. Um, know what you're looking for before they arrive. Here's what's also true, and it needs to be said uh, because sometimes readings like this create a passive energy, a waiting energy. Someone is coming, someone is fighting, someone is showing up. Um, and the person receiving all of this, you becomes the audience to someone else's action. You are not the audience. Um, you are a participant with your own agency, your own voice, your own set of feelings about this connection that deserve to be expressed, not just in response to what they bring, but independently from your own center, on your own terms. Um, so before they show up or alongside whatever unfolds, get clear on what you want to say, not to them, um, to yourself, about what you want, what you need, what you're willing to rebuild, and what you're not. Where your line is the one that, if crossed again, you actually leave, not as a threat, as a fact about yourself that you carry into this conversation with full clarity, because the person who knows their own line, who enters this conversation with self knowledge rather than just hope, is the person who makes the best decision, not the most romantic decision, the best one, for themselves first, always first. The power is yours. It always has been. Let them fight. Watch what the fight looks like. Not just the arrival, the sustained effort after it. And from that watching, from that clear eyed, open hearted, fully present observation, make the decision that you can live with, long term, not just tonight, long term, because you deserve a love that doesn't require a door, that shows up not just when losing you becomes real, but consistently, in the ordinary moments, when there's no crisis to motivate it, when showing up is just what they do, because you are who they choose, every day, without being pushed to it by the threat of losing you. That's the standard. Hold it. Even when someone's showing up at the door, makes it tempting to lower it. Take what resonates, softly release the rest, trust yourself. Tell me in the comments, if someone showed up at your door right now, who would you want it to be? Don't overthink it. First name that comes to mind, drop it below. And have you ever fought for something, really fought, and was it worth it? Tell me what happened. That's a wrap for today. Know what you want before they knock. That way, whatever you decide, it's actually yours. Until next time.